Hey, let's talk about how to do a clean, directed age regression. My name's Penny. I'm a board certified hypnotist. I have been doing regression style work since 2014. I have thousands of hours of client sessions in this modality, and I teach others to do the same. Now, I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. When you're learning this, it's like learning how to ride a bike. Learning how to ride a bike. You got to learn how to feel with it when the training wheels are on, but they're not level and you're attempting to get your balance, and then taking those training wheels off and keeping your balance on those training wheels. That is true of anything that we learn. But as adult learners, we tend to hold ourselves to a higher standard because somehow we forgot how damn frustrating it was to sit in the floor and learn to tie our shoes for the first time when we were 5 or 6 years old. So as adults, we tend to not have that same level of, acceptance of the process with ourselves. But age regression is something that you see in many modalities in hypnosis and hypnotherapy and transformational therapy. Okay. It's age regression. Now, to get a true age regression and not a hypnotic recalling of memories, the first requirement is somnambulism. You've got to do a really good pre-talk. You have to have confirmed somnambulism, and you want to go through a process of setting your client up subconsciously to understand what it is that you are about to do. And that will be for another video. But when doing regression techniques, we want to use what I call a clean technique. In other words, we make no assumptions. We don't suggest anything. Everything comes from the client. And you might be thinking, well, oh my God, how do you do that? That sounds hard. It's not hard. You simply ask open-ended questions, and they're pretty basic. I give my students in their training manual, they get a list of questions, and then I give my graduates a swipe file so that they don't have to memorize things. Because here's the catch: when your client's in hypnosis and they're focused and you're doing the work, they have no idea if you're looking at a piece of paper. Okay. So you can be looking at a piece of paper. You're going to be taking notes anyway, not big notes, just little notations. But there are a few questions that we can ask, and there are the 5 FAB questions. We call them the FAB 5. The 5 questions that give you the information that you're actually looking for to do the work so that you can do the regression. So one of my favorite things to do when I have a client that's coming in with an issue and it's coming up in their day-to-day life, in order to be able to get them to connect with the feeling really well, I will do what's called a date time regression. And basically, I will have them go back to that moment last week when they were arguing with their teenage daughter and they felt like they weren't being listened to and that they didn't matter. And, why do they even bother doing the things that they do for their family, right? Let's say that's the scenario that come up. I have them go back to just before that happened and take them through that event to really get them in the emotion. I would have this client in hypnosis go to just before that moment last week, and I would have them relive that interaction as if it's happening all over again. I would say to the client, there was a moment just last week where you approached your daughter about X, Y, and Z. I'm going to count from 3 back to 1. When I get to 1, I want you to be there with your daughter just before you have that conversation. 3 going back. 2, it's last week, Thursday at 2 o'clock or whatever they told you. And 1, be there. There you are. First impression. This is important. We don't want them thinking about it. We don't want them remembering. First impression, daytime or nighttime? Daytime. First impression, are you indoors or outdoors? Indoors. First impression, are you alone or with someone? I'm with someone. So these are what we call gestalt questions. We are setting the scene. Is it daytime or is it nighttime? Are you indoors? Are you outdoors? Are you alone or with someone? If they say they're with someone, what do you think the next logical question is? Well, who are you with? Right? Who are you with? It's like having a conversation. When you ask questions in age regression, you act as if you have a paper bag over your head and you can't see or hear anything. You need them to tell you what they're experiencing. So, are you alone or with someone? I'm with someone. Who are you with? Well, I'm with my daughter. Okay. If they're alone, something that's very effective is say, okay, alone. You literally call them alone. Okay, alone. What's happening? What's happening, alone? Because this is your next question. Or if they're with their daughter, say, what are you doing with your daughter? That's the same thing as what's happening. So either what's happening alone or what are you doing with your daughter? Those two statements, whether they're alone or with their daughter, depending on the client, it does something. One, you're calling them by a name. In one case, you're calling them alone. In the other case, you're calling them with your daughter. What are you doing with your daughter? Okay. That what are you doing or what's happening? That is question number 1 of the Fab 5 questions. We need to know what is happening. What's happening? And they share what's happening. She's like, oh, I'm walking up to my daughter because I had asked my daughter to empty the dishes out of the dishwasher and she didn't do it. Okay. She told me she's going to talk to her daughter because she asked her to empty the dishes out of the dishwasher. What are you thinking? She never listens to me. Never listens to me. What happens next? Well, I'm asking her why she didn't take the dishes out of the dishwasher. She's sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone on TikTok, and she's not listening to me. She just told you what she's reinforcing, what she's thinking. She doesn't listen to me. Oh, that she's not listening to you. No, she's not listening to me. What happens next? Well, I get her attention. Or go on. Or what happens next? You just get her to keep going. And all of a sudden, her daughter blows up, screams at her. You expect me to do everything? I'm just a kid. Why do I have to da, 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 da. And so the next question is, well, what does that make you think? I'm not appreciated. Nobody sees what I do around here. Nobody recognizes that I'm exhausted. I'm doing everything. How does that make you feel? I feel alone. Now, think about that. She has a family. She has a daughter. Not being seen. Not being heard. Not being paid attention to. No one acknowledging her. Nobody validating her. She feels alone. Those two things don't go together. Okay? So we have what's happening. What's that make you think? How's that make you feel? Those are 3 of the 5 questions. Now, I already know how the client is, how old the client is, because the client, this was last week, and the client is, let's say 45 years old from her paperwork. But we're still going to ask, how old are you? I feel alone. We're going to call her alone. How old are you? I feel alone. I'm 45. That feeling of alone inside of you, is that feeling of alone familiar or is it new? Oh, it's familiar. I put up with this all the time. Those are your Fab 5 questions. What's happening? What's that make you think? How's that make you feel? You have to know how old they are. You have to know if it's familiar or new. When it's familiar, you have them focus on that feeling and then using an affect-based technique, either affect bridge or what I use called the time tunneling technique, that brings together the mental, emotional, and the physical aspects of the feeling. We're going to have them connect with that feeling and follow that feeling back to a much earlier time. When they get to a much earlier time that they felt that way, we do the exact same thing. Quickly, first impression, is it daytime or nighttime? Are you alone or with someone? Are you indoors or outdoors? I say alone or with someone before indoors or outdoors. Those two you can go interchangeable. You're not going to break anything if you do it in a different order. Once you know if they're indoors or outdoors, or if they're alone or with someone, what's happening? They start to tell you what's happening. They may just kind of use some generic and say, oh, tell me more about that. They may say they're sitting in the chair in the living room. Oh, tell me about the chair. Well, how come you're sitting in the living room by yourself? You find out while they're sitting in the living room by yourself. What happens next? Until they get to something that has significance and say, well, what does that make you think? I tell you what it makes you think. Well, how does that make you feel? They tell you how it makes them feel. And listening, you're listening to see if what they're thinking and how they're feeling makes sense for what they came in for. And then you can say, go on, what happens next? What does that make you think? How's that make you feel? And then let's say you hit on it. You hit on this sense of alone and not being seen or heard again. Okay. Let's say she's sitting there. Mom came through the living room. Let's say she's much younger. It's daytime. She's indoors. She's alone. She's sitting there in the chair. When you ask her what's happening, it's like, oh, I'm waiting for mom. You're waiting for mom? Yeah, how come you're waiting for mom? Oh, we're going to go to the mall. You're going to go to the mall? Yeah, what do you think about that? Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait to go to the mall. I'm so excited. We're going to get new sneakers. Oh, how's that make you feel? Happy. Well, happy. This doesn't make sense. You say, what happens next? Mom just went out to the garage to start the car. Mom just went to start the car? Yeah. What happens next? I'm waiting for mom to come in and get me. You're waiting for mom to come in and get you? Yeah. What are you thinking? I'm okay. What happens next? I hear the garage door opening. You hear the garage door opening? Now, as an adult, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the garage door should have been open already because of carbon monoxide poisoning. But something that's important to know is that the mind does not always pull these things with 100% accuracy. They just kind of fill in. Say, oh, what are you thinking? Mom's getting ready to go. What happens next? I hear the garage door closing. You hear the garage door closing? Yeah. What's that make you think? Well, I don't, I need to go find mom. You need to go find mom. Yeah. What happens next? I'm at the front door. Tell me more. Mom's driving up the street. She forgot me. Oh no. What does that make you think? Mom didn't see me. Mom didn't notice. I'm not there. How's that make you feel? Forgotten about. Forgotten about. You feel forgotten about? Yeah. What does that feel like? I feel all alone. See, it started out happy. Now little one's all alone. Okay. Now, as a logical adult, we're probably sitting here thinking, well, the little one's in the chair, they're quiet. Mom probably told them to go wait in the car, and they didn't go wait in the car. Instead, they waited in the living room. Or maybe mom was so busy, she forgot to grab the little one and tell the little one to come get in the car to go to the mall. And mom was just so distracted, she got in the car and drove off and forgot the little one. But we can say none of that. We don't ask any of those questions. We don't ask, why do you think mom did that? No, 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 no. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? I'm thinking mom didn't see me. Mom didn't miss me. In some cases, a client may say, I don't matter, right? How does that make you feel? Alone. That feeling of alone, where is it in your body? Is that feeling familiar or new? Oh, it's familiar. How old are you? It's familiar. I'm 8. It's familiar. So then you go again. So look in the description below. I will have those questions written out for you. These are some of the basics of doing a clean age regression. We never ask things that direct the client to think about what other people are thinking, or to direct them to look and see things when they may not have looked to see, or to hear things. We're just asking them, tell me more, describe that to me. What do you mean by that? How does that make you feel? What's that make you think? We keep it nice and simple. Okay. So if you would love to know more about age regression, drop your questions below. I will be doing more videos, and have a great day. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video.